So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us do a bunch of mini segments for our 100th episode. And again, thank you everyone for your support. And congratulations to our winner of the Eazy Conversations hoodie is what they chose. So that'll be shipped to you shortly. So now for episode 101, Zoe 101 of Eazy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. So what's up with the people?
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great time right now. This is episode 1 of the next 100 episodes, so it's going to be exciting. I'm super excited for our guest tonight because we always have great episodes with him. So, Eric, why don't you introduce him?
Yes, sir. Making his 5th appearance on the podcast, my good friend. You know him very well through multiple topics that we've addressed on this pod. Now we're going back to grassroots, the first topic that we brought this guy on to discuss. So the homie Kurtis Daigle. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everyone? Glad to be back for the 5th time. You guys do an awesome job. Congrats on the 100 episode milestone. And yeah, pretty proud to be the first guest in the second set of 100, as Matt said. So looking forward to it, and I think we're gonna have a good time today.
That's true. Not a big deal, and a great tone setter for the next 100, like you said. So yeah, for this episode, we're gonna be doing a format that we have done once before, but a little different though. So we're gonna be doing, like I said, bringing Kurtis back on for his area of expertise, the comedy movie genre, and we're gonna be doing a draft in which each of us is going to draft 5 characters from comedy movies and just try to assemble the best super team possible. And then we'll look to maybe crown a winner in episode, or maybe leave it up to the people to vote on which team they like the most. But all in all, it'll just be a good time to go over some classic comedy movie characters and hopefully have a couple of laughs along the way. So there are a couple of ground rules we'll just share with the listeners that, of course, the three of us are already aware of. So once a character has been picked, you may no longer take another character by that actor. So, for example, if I were to select a character played by Ben Stiller, I can only take one. Can't go back to the well to take a Derek Zoolander, a White Goodman. Anyways, I'm not going to name names, just saying once a character is picked by that actor, he's done. And likewise, you cannot take two characters from the same movie. Once you've taken a character from a movie, you may no longer go back to that well for that movie. So yeah, ground rules out of the way. Now we're going to establish a draft order. So for this, I will resort to my trusty wheel that was referred to last episode as well for our Eazy Conversations hoodie winner. So unfortunately, Matt and Kurtis are unable to see the wheel at this point in time, but if you're watching on the YouTube, you can see that the wheel is just, and as am I, in control of spinning it. So I'll be giving it a whirl, and we're going to see who has the first overall pick in the draft. All right. My co-host, Matt, will be picking first overall.
Damn.
And now to see who gets the second and third overall pick, we'll be spinning again. I don't know which pick I want here, to be honest. And it looks like, all right, I will be picking second. So
Wow.
the Eazy boys going first, and then our guest of honor with the first back-to-back pick. So we will be doing snake draft. So Kurtis will be picking third, and then he'll be picking fourth as well. So I'm just gonna move.
That's how you treat your guests, eh?
I mean, like I said, the wheel is just, it never lies. It's 33% chance, and arguably picking third might be best case scenario. And we'll find out as we go along in this draft. So I've talked enough in this intro. Matt, I'll throw it over to you first to make the first overall pick of our comedy movie characters draft.
All right. First of all, I gave myself some restrictions, like nothing before the 1980s.
Okay.
So like it has to be 80s and up, or else it's like, what are we doing here?
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
Old actors.
I like that approach.
But honestly, my list may have been just 80s and up anyways, but who knows? I'm going to get the first overall pick because this character here always puts a smile to my face. It's the reason why. I mean, I don't know if you remember what my favorite comedy of all time was, but it's a character from that movie. I'm picking Seth from Superbad, Jonah Hill's character. Always freaking crying of laughter, and like this draft we're doing, like this character might be the focal point of my movie where he goes to college, you know, and we're following Seth. But I don't know if we're gonna do a story like that. But Seth from Superbad is my pick. Yeah.
Solid pick.
That's a contender for, if I had first overall, like he was definitely up there for contention. And just gonna put this out there, I had no strategy in terms of like developing a movie with these characters. I'm just going for characters that I like a lot and I think are solid overall. But hey, if like you guys have a little something planned, by all means. Seth. In my opinion, that's Jonah Hill's best character in a comedy, like hands down. So I think you're taking the right call and taking him in that role. So,
yeah. I definitely thought he was gonna go first round. I don't know. I was pegging Eric to take him probably first overall too, if not second. So, no surprise. Very solid pick.
So I don't want to divulge too much strategy here, so I'm going to take a less is more approach here until certain picks are made. Seth was up there for me. He was someone I wanted early for sure, but I did list him second in the names of characters I wanted in the first round. I am happy I'm picking second. Curtis, I don't know if you would take this guy second, third, or fourth, so I might have gotten him in the second round, but in going back to my point about Seth being Jonah Hill's best character, I'm taking this character as hands down the most recognizable for this actor, who is hilarious but has never come close to replicating this role, and that would be Alan from Hangover. So Zach Galifianakis, I think, just an iconic character. Honestly, when you think Zach Galifianakis, you can't help but think Alan, I don't know his last name, in Hangover. And the first time I saw that movie, I can't tell you the last time I laughed so much in a theater, specifically because of one character. Every line was killer. His first line in the movie is when he's getting fitted for a suit by a tailor and just yells at him like, "Watch it, pervert!" Like as he's doing his in-scene. I don't know. Just all non-stop roller coaster with this guy. So I think this is a can't-miss pick. Alan, Hangover, lock him in.
Yeah, that hurts a bit because I actually thought he was going to go a little later. Definitely had him on my list. So, already you're making me think a bit. That's a strong pick. Very funny character. All time.
Thank you.
Great pick, Eric. It wasn't even on my list. Didn't even kind of forgot about the Hangover altogether. So thanks for reminding me of that. And great pick, Eric.
And like that's the dilemma with this draft is like in my mind this is like a no-brainer first round pick, but then there's so many great characters that you forget about. I'm sure I've omitted a ton of classic characters and you guys are gonna bring up like, I can't believe I forgot about that one. So that's the beauty of this draft.
I'm definitely surprised you went there, but I guess, do you guys want me to go now? I guess I get 2 picks, right?
Back to back.
Yep.
Back to back. Wow. So I still feel pressure. Yeah, because I assumed that Eric, you were going in a different direction for your first pick. So I do still feel pressure. I might. I don't know. I don't love going with the obvious choice all the time. So I'm actually going to do. Let's see here. Man, I'm gonna kind of throw a couple curveballs in here, I think. So for my first pick, this is a bit of a toss-up. I'm going to Matt's movie, and I know that it's a little risky taking first overall because really I'm only competing with Eric for this character right now. However, I do want to lock him in, and I am gonna take McLovin as my first overall, aka Fogel.
Mm-hmm.
one of the only characters with two unbelievably recognizable first names. And I just think Seth was hilarious in that movie. But when you think about the comedic value that a character like McLovin brought to that movie, I don't think a lot of those lines and those scenes would be as funny if it weren't for this character, right? It just kind of like, it started with the fake ID and just like, it just escalated from there. And there was so much comedy surrounding the antics that McLovin got into, you know, like at the store when he was trying to buy booze, and then the guys thought he was getting arrested. He gets decked in the face. The cops come in, and like the two police officers, like Seth Rogen and Bill Hader, just the way they interact with McLovin, I think he was like a comedy catalyst in that movie that just like let everyone else be hilarious, right? So I gotta go McLovin with my first pick. Man.
Well, actually, I just want to comment on McLovin before we go on the next one.
Sure.
I never really thought of him as that, to be honest, but you're right. He kind of is the jet fuel for that entire movie. Like, while Seth, in my opinion, I still prefer over McLovin, anybody kind of could have been that character that like takes those jabs at McLovin, and like there's no one like McLovin really in this universe. And even like, well, obviously there are some people like him there, but I'm saying like McLovin is so different and really gets the ball rolling for all the events that happen in that movie. So that is a good pick. But like I said, I'm still a Seth guy, and that is one of my favorite scenes, like the interaction with the two of them when they're talking about the fake ID. Like, well, it was between that and Muhammad, and then like he just flips out on him there. But yeah, no, a great pick.
I echo that, and Seth and McLovin's interactions are the funniest. Like just like, you know, you're not supposed to park there after his car got towed. Like just reminding him, like just a little jab he takes at Seth.
You're not
everything you said, Eric. Yeah, yeah. I know though. He's like slowly losing it. Yeah. No. Good stuff, Kurtis.
I think at the time too, I don't know, that was just like you know, you hear stories about how that character got cast, and it was just like, it wasn't like your typical, you know, you think back to like the other movies before Superbad that kind of paved the way, like well, I guess in a way, like, you know, American Pies and stuff like that, where they were like bros, right? And like, I guess like in American Pie, there was like kind of a nerdy character, but they weren't as nerdy as like Vogel, right? So
exactly,
just what he brought, it was like this super nerd, but he also had some like unsubstantiated like swagger to him that like really he had no business having. It was just like, I think it's such a unique character at that time that definitely won over a lot of hearts. All right. Man,
Second
you guys,
round.
I might get some heat for this, but I really want to keep some strategic picks open.
Yeah.
And I really think I can get some strategic picks at the end if I play my cards in such a way. So I'm actually going to pick Derek Huff.
Whoa.
Whoa. Yeah, I'm going Derek Huff because of sort of a similar. I had a theme going, and Alan from The Hangover was actually part of my theme, where it was sort of like the unsung heroes of the movie, similar to like McLovin, and you can kind of see where my brain was creating my list, with like an Alan, a McLovin, and a Derek, where I think you really need these like extremely successful supporting roles in these comedy movies to make them what they are. And I've seen Adam Scott in a couple things, but I've never seen him as good as he was in Step Brothers. And the character, I just think, is absolutely perfect. He plays this douchey brother so extremely well, and just the way he interacts with people, the way he tells his stories, it's top tier. And I think I think it's really, really well done. And like I said, I kind of want to be a little strategic, and I want to dip into the well a bit. So I'm going to play my hand in this way, and I think I'm going to surprise you guys with what I have a little further down the road. So yeah, that'll be my second pick, Derek Huff.
I like it. Because I don't watch Step Brothers as much as everybody else in the world. I guess like I've only seen the movie twice, and once was in the theater. And like that's one of the characters I remember the most is Adam Scott as Derek. And yeah, good pick. I need to watch Step Brothers more. Basically, it's shameful. I'm slightly ashamed of that.
I mean, caught me off guard, Derek, the Derek pick at the second round, but I like it, to be honest. And it's funny because I was kind of thinking about Step Brothers in general and trying to think, which one, if I were to draft one, like Brennan or Dale, but they didn't really stand out, to be honest. And I had to narrow it down to one, in that I think it's the two of them together that work so well, and obviously I can't have both of them. But Derek as a standalone character, you're right, is so different, and like that douchey, like with the guilty as charged, with the stories, like just his delivery and everything that he brings to the table is hysterical. A lot of memorable lines. Like Kurtis, you and I were talking last week about like one of his lines, like at that dinner table, they're just going out like
fishing trip,
the Bonita fishing trip. Interesting pick, but I like it at the same time. And I do thank you for the little teaser of where your head's at and going for these obscure, maybe not obscure, but just supporting characters who, you're right, like they do make or break comedy movies. And is Step Brothers as good as it is without a Derek? Probably not. So not that crazy of a pick. I like it. And now I'm in between two characters here, but knowing that Matt has back-to-back picks, I have to take the one I'm more not certain, but I could see Matt taking, and that's going to be Jeremy Gray in Wedding Crashers, Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers. And I'm not just taking him here because Matt could take him. A fantastic character. Baba Ganoush is by far my favorite character in that movie, and just his interactions with Owen Wilson are dynamite. But for me, it's him who really steals the show. He's the ultimate soldier, too, going to war for his brother, trying to seal the deal, and just dealing with the stage 5 virgin clinger, just going above and beyond for his boy. And who can forget that most iconic one-punch knockout to the sack at his own wedding? Like you gotta love that moment. One of the most satisfying moments in movie history. And Jeremy and Wedding Crashers. That's my pick.
I love it.
Did you have him, Matt?
No, and I'll elaborate more when it's my turn. Actually, I'll let you go. You give your thoughts, Kurtis.
Yeah, it's a great pick, and one of the ones that I probably would have dipped into if we had maybe adjusted the rules a bit and kind of created the need to go a little deeper. I had a couple. Well, I think it's a shame that I didn't have Vince Vaughn at all on my list, but I definitely thought about him, especially in that role. I think that's one of the movies I've watched, probably over 5 times, and he's so good. Yeah. And if you've seen his monologues or any of his other kind of material, he is a genius when it comes to just riffing and freestyling. And I can guarantee that so much, he has one of these almost uplifting, hype you up speeches in all of his movies, and I guarantee he just kind of comes up with half of it off the cuff, and he's amazing. He's so good at it. When I saw him hosting Saturday Night Live once, I swear he just riffed his monologue for the first 10 minutes, and it was absolutely unreal. I think he's underappreciated, especially in this sort of setting. So I really, really respect that pick, and I think he deserves it. So kudos.
Thank you.
Good second
Good
pick.
So I get 2 in a row, right, Eric?
Yep.
But first of all, okay, Curtis, I love what you said, because there's a scene in the movie Swingers where Vince Vaughn's like hyping up Jon Favreau to like they're about to go in a club. And he's giving him confidence, and I swear exactly half of what he says is probably like top of the dome. So yeah, great pick, Eric. I shit you not, like I have it written down, like I'm not making this up, but like the next guy I was gonna pick is from Wedding Crashers.
Okay.
But I'm a big Owen Wilson fan, so I'm picking John Beckwith.
Okay.
Owen Wilson in Wedding Crashers. I just love I love Owen Wilson, and I know he sounds the same in every movie, but I like that. I like his delivery of the lines. I like how he bounces off Vince Vaughn and his little like all his tactics. I love Wedding Crashers. Mm-hmm. So I have Owen Wilson's character written down, so it's great, Eric, that you picked Vince Vaughn's, like complement each other. Is he as funny as Vince Vaughn? Probably not, but like I don't know. John stuck with me more. His character, like I had to pick John in the movie. I don't know why. It spoke to me that way. So, John Beckwith, my next pick.
The pursuit of the woman too, like he's like there's more like the romantic angle as well, like an added layer to his character. While Vince Vaughn's character does have an undercover affair with, not really affair there, but just like love story with Isla Fisher. But yeah, no, I like John as well. Like I'm a big fan of the both of them together. Like when they go back and forth trading lines, like quoting the rule book and all that. Oh, that's just gold.
Yeah.
That's a great movie, man. Wedding Crashers is also aged well. Like it's one of those golden age 2000s comedy movies. I don't think I had it in mind when we did our list there, top 5, but it's a strong contender for me, honestly.
It does get better every time you watch it, yeah.
Yeah, I love that character as well, Matt. Like, you guys have kind of said all that I can say kind of about that, but there's just, I don't know, it's just a fantastic movie. I think they are quite different, but they work so well together. And I agree that Owen Wilson can kind of, play similar characters, but I think like it kind of speaks to his success a bit that like it's kind of always funny. And I don't know if he's like he just has it in his contract to say it, but like he says live in the dream, I think, in like every one of his movies. And I just love when Owen Wilson says live in the dream, because it makes you feel a certain way. But yeah, I'm actually super happy that Wedding Crashers got the love it did from you guys. And I shit you not, because I know Matt just said that, but not even an hour ago, maybe about an hour ago, I was just watching Wedding Crashers, like best moments on my phone, like preparing for this, just like making sure I didn't miss any, and that made me think, that made me definitely think a little bit, because it's just got so many good parts.
Nice.
Actually, I know it's not my pick anymore, but while we're on the topic of Wedding Crashers, they're just to add on to Jeremy, like he does have the two storylines, like with the brother as well, like which is pretty hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Todd?
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah. Oh God.
Death, you
I want to watch
bitch
it.
Lover. It's like one of my favorite lines. So funny.
And Bradley Cooper is great too.
Oh yeah.
If
we were doing like supporting characters draft, like he's a deep sleeper, but so good. The Sack is so good.
Yeah. All right, now my picks get a little more like not super mainstream.
Mm.
I mean, should be known. These characters should be known, but like I don't know. Anyways, my next pick is actually Johnny English, played by Rowan Atkinson.
Wow.
I love the first Johnny English movie to death. Like I know it by heart. Like me and my girlfriend always watch it and we try to like quote the dialogue. I even like the third one too in the series. But Rowan Atkinson, comedic genius. I love Mr. Bean, and in the first Johnny English, he's like perfection. Have you guys seen it and like it?
Johnny English, when I was a kid, like I remember going to my friend's house watching that all the time. Like that movie made us die of laughter when we were younger. And honestly, it still holds up to this day. Like I think a factor would be the nostalgia. I could maybe compare it to, for some people, like Austin Powers is killer. But for me, like I tried watching it last year for the first time and it just didn't do it for me. I could see maybe Johnny English being that way, but maybe not. Maybe that's just a wild comparison to make there. But I love Johnny English, and the chemistry with Boff as well is gold. Like the scene when he goes to the cemetery. When I was a kid, that killed me.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot of good stuff in there, but yeah, classic movie, and that's not someone I had on my radar either, but I love that character, so great pick.
Yeah, he definitely came up. I was researching just like to make sure I didn't miss anything blatant or obvious, like, so I just kind of did some quick researching on my phone. I think pretty much I had my list in place prior to that. I wasn't really influenced, but there were some things that was like, oh yeah, okay, like that makes sense. So yeah, I don't remember the movie entirely well. I definitely watched it, I think maybe only once, but when I was like, when I was looking up lists and like making sure I didn't miss anything, that character definitely showed up a couple times. So I can see that. I can't even remember. I only remember him as Mr. Bean. So I can't even remember I can't like in my head distinguish any scenes from the movie, but I'm pretty sure, like, how old would that be? It was probably like 20 years.
I want to say 2004
Almost, yeah.
Off the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's probably been a while, but respectable pick for sure.
Thank you.
I'm in between two names right now, but I could probably get one of them at the turn, so I'm going to go with this one. Not sure if this was someone that you would take, Curtis, but I'm going to go White Goodman from Dodgeball. Ben Stiller.
Nice.
Absolutely hysterical role. Like for me, that's my favorite Ben Stiller role. I do like him a lot in like Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, but his outrageous character in White Goodman, second to none. And yeah, a lot of good physical comedy in there. Like his line delivery is killer. And that's again a movie that I used to watch when I was a kid, and it just floored me every single time. I obviously am a villain guy. I rooted for the Global Jim Purple Cobras. It's a no-brainer that I would follow White Goodman. The Flow too. I had Flow back then, so that guy was just my idol. I wanted to be a dodgeball star because of White Goodman. Yeah, it's what else can I say? White Goodman, third round pick.
He's coming home. That's no, that is a good pick. I like how you kind of described it too, because like I think Ben Stiller has had some pretty good roles. I think like Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, things like that. He's like those are pretty funny movies. But once again, he's kind of just like the normal-ish guy that just like bad things and funny things happen to, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in Dodgeball, he definitely he creates that comedy himself, yep. Right? I love once again the confidence that kind of comes from nowhere. I like the scene where he has like the blonde girl from the other team like into his whatever room it was.
Yeah, that's classic.
The painting of like him wrestling the bull by the horns and everything. And I think he comes in reading a dictionary or something.
Yep, he does.
Upside down.
Yeah.
That's me grabbing a bull by the horns. It's a metaphor, but that actually happened though.
Yeah, no, it's awesome and great movie. Also, pretty solid Vince Vaughn.
Peter LaFleur. Yep.
Yeah.
Who I didn't appreciate him in that as much when I was younger, but it's got a lot of dry and sarcastic humor that as I grew and grow older, I watch that movie and appreciate more of his lines. But no, White is the easier character I would say to gravitate towards, and he still holds up. Like in that scene alone, like there's a couple of iconic moments, like when Kate goes into his office, he's like with the pump for some extra. Just
manhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like he's eating his talking to himself with the pizza, and then Michelle walks in. He's like, "Oh, go, right. sir." Oh. Yeah. White. Every single line of his is iconic in my opinion. When you rewatch Dodgeball, you remember his lines. You know what he's gonna say, which is why I think it's a great pick, Eric. Yeah. The scenes with his wife at the time, Christine Taylor, like Kate. That's like he's playing off his wife there. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Great pick. It was on my list, actually.
Nice. Love to hear that.
White is iconic character.
It's reminiscent of when Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston acted alongside each other in that Friends episode. Who can forget?
True.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, just a reference right out of left.
Oh yeah, my references are out of control right now.
Best references. Yeah, I guess that brings it back to me.
Yours, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know that this pick is actually completely uncontested, and I'm just doing this for the good of the pod and also for continuation and flow. So you're welcome. You're welcome, Eazy conversation and listeners. This is kind of why I left some picks up, but since you guys took 2 Wedding Crashers, guys, I'm actually going to go back to Wedding Crashers, believe it or not. And it was a character that wasn't even mentioned yet. And I had to look up his last name. But I'm picking Will Ferrell's character, Chaz Reinhold,
Whoa.
as my number 3 choice. Will Ferrell, for the longest time, I'll say, maybe not currently, but for the longest time, was the absolute number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, favorite comedic actor for me. And I think, like Eric and I have talked about this before, there's been some duds lately, but in his prime, before maybe he overdid some stuff, overplayed some characters, you can't deny his genius. And he should have had more minutes off the bench in this movie. Like, I'll give you that. But the minutes he did play were hard fought minutes, and I think they really allow him to shine. And I think, like, minute per minute per capita, my favorite Will Ferrell performance by far is Chaz. I think, that whole scene where Owen Wilson, like, walks into his mom's house, and, like, from the moment he gets there to, like, the end of that scene, I think is just, like, comedy gold. The way they interact with each other, the way Will Ferrell yells at his mom, like, the meatloaf is just an iconic line, right? I wanted to, even though I know it's uncontested because you guys can't go back to Wedding Crashers, because we gave the movie so much love and appreciation, I wanted to keep that going. That's my 3rd pick.
Yeah, I respect you knowing that you could get this pick in the last round, but still taking a flyer in the 3rd round on it. That's a gutsy play. But like you said, pound per pound, seconds on the screen, he crushes it. And like, that's an iconic, probably the most iconic cameo in a comedy movie ever. Like, for what he does on the screen in that short amount of time, really. Classic character, and something that people remember from Wedding Crashers the most, you could say, like the meatloaf, the lines like, "What an idiot!" It's just all his lines.
About the funeral.
Yeah, exactly. Just still crushing it.
He's visibly humping people during a funeral. It's just everything he says, he's kicking the table. He's like, "What an idiot!" Good, and it's classic Will Ferrell to me, and I could watch that scene over and over, and I could laugh every time. So I'm very happy with the pick, regardless of how it went down. So that's number 3 for me, and I guess I'm number 4 too. This is where it gets this is where we're getting deep. I'm the 4th pick, right?
Yep. Setting the tone.
Once again, this might be a bit, I don't know, controversial. I'll let you guys chime in and see what you say. This is a movie that you really can only pick one person from, so I want to make sure I scoop him before you guys potentially do. and I'm going with my man from Kazakhstan, Borat.
Okay. That is a one-man show, yeah.
I hope there's no flags on the play. He's technically a character. I know it's sort of like a reality-ish type movie, but it's still a movie. It's still a character, and I think Borat was, like, at its time, I think, hilarious. Every single person that you could talk to when that movie came out not only saw it but could quote and reminisce, like, probably about half that movie. So I know it is a character that is based off of a TV show, but when the movie came out, I think everyone that didn't watch the show kind of learned about Borat and what he did, and there was just, I think, from start to finish, just like iconic movie. So want to lock him down as my number 4.
Awesome pick, Kurtis. Let me tell you, I was in grade 9 when that movie came out. Everyone was talking about it for a month straight. Like, it was like, you gotta go see it, sneak in, like, get your parents to get you the tickets. It was literally, everyone talked like exactly what you said, and that's why I always have nostalgia for Borat. I can watch it to this day and remember, like, oh yeah, kids were talking about this, and still a great movie, holds up. Good pick. It wasn't even on my radar, that movie. Didn't even think of it, so thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, me neither. And I was in grade 6 when it dropped, so I didn't know that you were in grade 9, Matt. So just quick little subtract 3 years there, and that's how I got to that. But yeah, I did not see it when I was in grade 6, and I was pretty late to the game with Borat, honestly. I do remember people talking about it, though, like in later years in middle school, I guess. And I still never got around to seeing it, but I remember the first time I saw it, I was dying. I've only seen it the one time, actually, and I look back on it fondly. Like, I laughed a lot. I might have watched it with my dad, to be honest, or he watched it as well. Like, we both had rented it, and we both watched it and, like, would talk about it and stuff, and it was hilarious. But would probably benefit from a rewatch, honestly. Like, also wasn't on my list, but he was, like, Sacha Baron Cohen. And I forget his name, but in Talladega Nights, like, those are the 2 roles I think of when I think of him.
Pierre, is it Pierre?
Why
can't I remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it should be obvious too, but anyways, those 2 characters are the ones that I think of when I think Sacha Baron Cohen. I can't even name one of them, but they're both gold, and Borat is a classic character, so that's a good pick, and I think that's a value round pick. Honestly, Borat's that 4th round pick with 1st round potential, I would say. Like, he's a Drake Batherson, He
could carry you, like. And it's sneaky. Like, he went under the radar for both of you guys, but now that he's on the table, there's gotta, you can't deny there is it a little bit of regret creeping in.
Oh, I'm rethinking everything for these last 2 picks now. Scrambling. I am between 3 people at this point for my last 2. I think I got my last round. I'm gonna go a little different. My last pick. It's for the next one, really, that I'm either this or that. This or that. And I'm going to go with this. So while I did speak poorly on these characters earlier in the episode, you'll recall, I did write this character as 4th on my list, and he's still here. I got to take him. I'm going Double D, Dale Doback from Step Brothers. Wow. So John C. Reilly over Will Ferrell.
Wow.
Might be controversial, but I've been a big John C. Reilly fan since the dawn of man, aka the first time I saw Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. From that point on, he was an unknown to me. I obviously knew of Will Ferrell, had seen him in multiple movies, but John C. Reilly really shone in Talladega Nights. So then I was looking forward to Step Brothers, and I'll always remember those first few times seeing it, I always thought John C. Reilly, aka Dale Doback, stole the show once more. There's just something about his face. I want to punch it. I know that line isn't directed at him, but it still applies. Like, there's something about his face that is just objectively funny, and whatever comes out of his mouth is just hilarious. And Dale Doback, he's the guy. I got to take him in the 4th round. That, again, I think is a a higher round potential player that I'm very happy to get in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I knew someone was picking Will or John C. Reilly from that movie. Again, I need to watch it again. Like I don't know what I'm doing, man. Richard Jenkins in that movie is hilarious.
Yeah, he's so good in that movie.
Even the mom, right? Like Mary, the mom from Elf. She's
Steinberg.
Mary Steinbergen. Yeah. Damn, I need to watch it.
There's like even like Derek's wife. I can't remember her name right
Catherine
now.
Hahn, is that her name?
Yeah. Like she's hilarious. Right?
A lot of heavy hitters in that movie.
Right.
Seth Rogen, quick cameo.
Yeah. And Rob Riggle.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
You know, like the Catalina wine mixer. You know, like it's just it's pretty all time, Matt. So probably worth a rewatch for sure. But yeah, I was thinking one of the brothers was actually going to go like 1st round. Like Eric, I misjudged your picks. I thought maybe you'd go like Brennan like 1 or 2, which is why I kind of went with the more obscure Will Ferrell pick, kind of for a later pick in the draft. But I think with John C. Reilly and Dale's character, the scene where he's talking to his dad about Nancy potentially moving in, and he's talking about like what will happen if he steps out of the shower, right? And he's like, I have a luscious fee of from my chest pubes down to my ball throw. And she looks at me and grabs me by the wiener, and that's like probably one of my favorite lines in the movie. And I love how his dad just like reacts, basically, as any father should in that situation, and basically like tells him to shut the fuck up. But, it's just like I think it really is a 50-50 toss up between the brothers. Definitely funnier together. So what you're doing right now basically is you're splitting up the Sedin twins and hoping that one of them thrives on their own. So I'm just hoping for your sake that Dale delivers without his stepbrother.
It's a great comparison, but you also made a great point in favor of Dale in bringing up that scene in which Brennan is absent, right? Like obviously everyone's gonna have a screen partner at some point. So while yes, Richard Jenkins does thrive in mirroring Dale's hilarious lines, it's Dale who steals the show in that scene you just said.
Oh yeah,
and I honestly quote that scene, like not that part of the scene there. The other one's like, we go on riverboat gambling trips. That's all gonna be ruined. We have literally never done any of those things. Like that whole scene where he's just listing off funny things that they no longer can do because a woman will be living with them is killer.
Oh yeah, no, that whole scene, that had me in stitches. Like I got to see that in theaters. Probably the best comedy movie I've ever seen in theaters. Like just laughed the whole, I was with my friends, like it was high school or whatever, just loving life, just laughing my ass off.
Living the dream.
That scene, living the dream, that scene is definitely top notch. And I'm not trying to throw shade at your list. I'm just, I'm just kind of pointing something out here, but strong pick nonetheless.
Embrace debate. We've been almost too polite with everyone's picks.
Yeah, we need a little heat.
But I will say, so something that, like I said, I had Dale listed high, thinking that maybe a Jeremy or even an Allen would be taken off the board. I did have Dale or Brennan locked in for an earlier round, but you took Derek before I had even made a second pick.
Yeah.
So I knew you weren't a problem anymore, and Matt admitted that he's seen Step Brothers twice. So I'm like, all right, I can get these guys later if I want. I could probably have gotten them in the next round, but I do want, if things go according to plan, they're my last pick to be someone different. But, so that's where my head was at in knowing that I could get them later. But you're right, it is a fair comparison. I even said it earlier in the episode. They do work best as a tandem. Prestige worldwide,
Yeah. Good pick.
Yeah.
Very instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
Even as someone who hasn't seen the movie a lot.
It's gonna play well on the graphic for sure.
I have my pick 4 and 5 right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I already know. Yeah, I already know what I'm picking for 5, but okay, no one's gonna guess my 5. It's impossible. But like, I'm so torn now because there's like all these comedic legends.
Mm-hmm.
But I know who I'm picking now. Like, I'm picking a Jim Carrey character because I just love him. I love him so dearly. I'm picking Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber.
Nice.
Yeah. Really solid.
And I'm leaving out so many other comedic legends. Like, well, I'll read my honorable mentions maybe later if there's time. But yeah, Lloyd. Anyways, Lloyd is. I freaking love Dumb and Dumber. I don't need to explain myself. Jim Carrey is a comedic genius. Like, I've been watching a lot of Jim Carrey movie recently. Just watched The Grinch last night actually, and he's amazing in that. Like, what he does, no one could do that. But yeah, I don't need to explain myself. Lloyd is so quotable, and I love that movie. So yeah, Lloyd Christmas.
Great pick. Had him on my list as well. It could have been the last round pick. Love, like, again, Dumb and Dumber is a movie. I think I had that on my top 5 comedy movie list. And that's a movie that, again, I look back on fondly. I saw when I was a kid as well. Had me in stitches the whole time. Yeah, it's a great pick. I don't know what else to add.
Yeah, I definitely considered it. I think, like, revolutionary movie that, like, I don't know if you can say it, like, paved the way, but I've always been a huge fan of just, like, dumb comedy, and this is, like, obviously, like, you know, what this movie is good at. And there's so many moments, and probably one of the first kind of opportunities I had to see Jim Carrey, and yeah, just, you know, iconic. Definitely like paved the way for, I think, a lot of what we enjoy today. So pretty solid number 4 pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it should be higher. Like,
yeah.
We're all getting first round talent in the 4th round.
Yeah,
I think
that exactly.
A deep draft this round.
I got excited when you said Jeremy from Wedding Crashers, so I said my John pick right away. I could have waited till right now, or round 5. But okay, my last pick. None of you are gonna have him. It's a movie. Literally, in the last 2 years, I've probably watched like 10 times. I'm not even joking. And it was in my list of favorite comedies. This is a character from the movie A Fish Called Wanda, and it's a character called Otto, played by Kevin Kline. And he actually won an Academy Award for a comedic role, and I just want to say how rare that is. This movie is hilarious, but Kevin Kline as Otto, who plays an American hitman in the movie, is absolute gold. Everything he says, he's so stupid, and he ruins every situation, creates problems upon problems for all the other main characters. He's absolutely hilarious. You can even see some of the scenes, like, the other characters are trying not to laugh out loud, like, break character. He's that funny. So yeah, that's my 5th pick. My last pick is Otto from A Fish Called Wanda. Gold, guys, like, gold. He won an Oscar for this. Like, that's, yeah, it's special.
I guess I'll have to watch this
Yeah,
movie.
same.
It's, unfortunately, I still haven't, but I remember it was on your top comedy movies. So
yeah. I love it. Jamie Lee Curtis. It's a great cast, and it's a caper. It's like a heist movie, but, like, it's really funny too. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about A Fish Called Wanda, so made your list for the movies, like Kurtis said, and now a character's on this draft, so it's the nail in the coffin that we got to check this out. So I'm also going to go for an older movie here. This will be my most off-the-board pick, but I'm being true to myself here in that this is a movie I've seen a ton of times.
I think I know where you're going with this.
I do not think you do know where I'm going with this, to be honest. It's I'm going to be taking Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Naked Gun, played by Leslie Nielsen.
Okay. I do not know where you're going with this.
Good pick.
So, he's an absolutely hysterical character that fits the mold of a Lloyd Christmas in a sense, in that we're talking about slapstick comedy and a lot of just weird lines and just Easter eggs and stuff that doesn't really make sense or wouldn't happen in real life, but it's hilarious nonetheless. Like, guy ends up as an umpire in the baseball game to find the shooter trying to kill the queen, and gets praised, and is also he sings the national anthem as Enrico Palazzo. Just too much gold with this character. The opening scene always puts a smile on my face. It's killer. Hilarious character. Frank Drebin to round out my list. Walk me home to victory. Home run pick.
Matt, you're gonna have to speak to this one because I haven't seen it, but I'm sure you have.
He was in strong consideration on my list, Eric,
Nice.
because it's iconic. I'm not gonna say who else I have, but like, he's among the legends of comedy, in my opinion. That character. I love those types of movies. It's so stupid that it's, oh my god, I remember the scenes are just flashing in my head right now. Great pick, Eric. I'm glad someone mentioned him.
That's a movie that my friends and I will often watch when we go to my friend Mart's cottage in Tremblant. And like late night, throw that on, and just a couple of drinks have been had, and we're like, the laughs are just flowing. So it's a classic. Like, we went to Montreal a few weeks ago, like I said, watched it as a group, and it just always holds up. Strong recommend, even if you don't have that nostalgic connection to it. It's just a funny movie. Like, a lot of goofy, like, I would say it's goofy comedy, like kind of like Airplane, which again, Leslie Nielsen stars in that as well. So I would recommend it. Naked Gun, classic movie. A lot of like double entendre lines too. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and his delivery is just like pretty iconic as well. Like, I've seen clips and stuff from like some of his like Airplane and some of his more popular roles, and it's just like I guess like straight faced.
Yeah,
kind of stupid,
exactly.
Right, and but yeah, once again a pioneer, obviously, right, and
I gotta.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard great things.
I gotta ask, which way did you think I was leaning there for last pick? You seemed pretty certain.
In the past, like, you were so high on like Harold and Kumar, I thought maybe you were gonna go down that road.
Yeah.
But I knew that if you did, you'd go at the end, right? Because I don't think you would expect Matt or I to pick from that movie. But maybe we can get into that and your thought process afterwards. But I had an inkling that maybe they would make your top five, but respectable nonetheless. I don't know. For my fifth pick, I'm kind of in a tough spot because it feels like there's just like everything that's left over, right?
Yeah.
Like, literally there's so much that I can choose from, and it almost feels like impossible to make a fifth pick. Like, we've been talking about how some of these amazing characters have slipped to like 4 and 5, and I don't know. I feel like my pick is going to leave so much on the table that it almost brings back that pressure from the beginning of the draft. But an actor that I have always just been really drawn to, and I've always loved his work, is Paul Rudd. And he might not have the best characters per se. A lot of his characters are kind of goofy, and he almost like seems to play himself a lot of the time. But I'm actually gonna go for Brian Fantana from Anchorman.
Nice.
I think Anchorman at its time when it came out was another one of those movies where there were so many quotables, and like, it was for my age group. Like, I may be a little bit older, definitely, especially you, Eric, where you may have not been in the age group where your friends were like going to see this movie when it came out and stuff like that, right? But for me, everyone had seen Anchorman, and everyone was saying how funny it was, right? And it was one of those things that everyone was quoting. And I think like Ron Burgundy is one of Will Ferrell's best roles, especially like in the original Anchorman. And I think like the cast is really funny. Like Steve Carell's character is just absolutely ridiculous in that movie, right? But I really like Paul Rudd's character in this movie. I think Brian Fantana's hilarious. I love like the Sex Panther like scene where he's using the the cologne to try to get the girl, and it just turns out that it makes everyone sick. And like just once again that like unsubstantiated confidence, like and the scene leading up to that is just really really funny. So yeah, I had to give some love to that movie. Once again, amazing cast, and one of the better characters in that movie is Paul Rudd. So that would be my number 5.
And that'll do it for the draft. So, Brian Fantana, I like that pick a lot, honestly. I do think that when people think Anchorman, like you immediately think Ron Burgundy. Probably a lot of people go to Brick, which I want to say overrated character. Is funny, but not, in my opinion, to the level that his cult following raves about him as. I would put Brian right up there, like above him for sure, and maybe even above Ron. Like maybe not above Ron, but he's a great character, and I love. It's one of Paul Rudd's best roles in my opinion. I haven't seen him in that much, to be honest. And like you said, he does like kind of maybe just play himself, and this is such a different take for him that it works. He's a solid character in that, so it's a solid. I like that pick. I'm surprised no one took Ron, to be honest. I thought he'd be a pick. Ron Burgundy. I thought someone would take him.
Yeah, good pick, Curtis. I'm glad you highlighted Paul Rudd. He makes everything look look effortless. Mm-hmm. Like he's just a great actor in general, and he doesn't age, and he's always good. So good spotlight on him. Like I'll just say quickly, like some of the legends we left off, like I had so many John Candy roles. I had some Steve Martin roles, Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Freaking like that was all going through my head, but I'm like, I picked the movies I watched the most, and that was that was the deciding factor in the end, was what am I rewatching all the time? So Clark Griswold too, like Chevy Chase. Like I was thinking of that, but I don't know.
So Matt, let me ask you, if you had to pick like one Adam Sandler character, who would it be?
Billy Madison.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, have you watched Billy Madison lately? Like
no.
I find it just doesn't hold up well. Like you see, like I don't know if you guys ever see like the Adam Sandler, like the kind of like the people who do impressions of him and stuff like that, and they always lean on that like that baby talking, that like the baby talk that he does, and it's just like I don't know, it's like it was funny at the time. Once again, I keep saying this, but like when that movie was like when it was first out, like, and I don't know what my friends' parents were letting them watch this movie for, but I think I was in like grade 3 or 4 when this movie came out, and my friends were still quoting this movie. I had zero idea what they were talking about, but honestly, I'm not even kidding. This movie was so popular amongst my friends group when we were that young that I started quoting it just because my friends said the lines all the time. I didn't even see the movie. I didn't even see it. I was just a fraud. But I don't know. Watching it today, it's almost like I don't know. It's like a little derivative. It's just like a little. I just don't find it stands up well. I don't blame you for mentioning him. Absolutely, he has to be up there. But I don't know. I almost prefer Adam Sandler and like a more a character closer to Adam Sandler versus like
funny really people.
Yeah, or like I think Big Daddy is like probably like one of like my favorite roles that he's done, right? Like the whole like the Water Boy, the Billy Madison, where he kind of like just puts on this weird voice. It's just I don't know. I think like he suffered from playing the same character too many times, and that sort of got a little old. But not taking away from like you mentioning him, I definitely agree. I just was curious to see what you'd say, because I think there's a couple different paths you can take for the Adam Sandler discussion.
Good point.
We gotta give
Absolutely.
some love to Happy Gilmore, though. I will say,
Yeah,
like, that's
for
a
sure.
character that I actually had on my list. Again, though, to your point, Curtis, that is a movie I haven't seen in a long time, so I don't know how well it holds up. But I have seen it quite a few times. That it is like I would cite it as like my favorite Adam Sandler movie, a comedy for sure. But again, like I don't know how well it holds up in time. Just for, like to list off a couple other honorables, like you mentioned the Harold and Kumar movies. I did have Secretary Fox on there, but that would be more again. Another like you took a few more supporting characters. Like I would say he's a supporting character, but is so funny in every single scene. Like he doesn't have a single miss, in my opinion, anyways. That he would merit a spot on my list. I did want to go a different route though with Frank Drebin, show some love there, not be predictable as some would have maybe thought I would go. I had quickly Uncle Buck for in Uncle Buck, John Candy, love that movie and that character obviously. I had Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street. Like I was debating him instead of Dale, to be honest.
I had that too.
Morton Schmidt. No idea that was his name. Like I knew Schmidt. But Morton is news to me when I was Googling him.
I don't think they mentioned that ever.
No, that's probably something that they added retroactively, like in the credits, to make his name sound funnier. I want to say like Morton Schmidt.
Well, it's based off
what
of
a name.
a TV show, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know, like, maybe it was mentioned then. They had to stick true to the, the roots.
In my mind, like when you think when I think anyways, classic Jonah Hill movie comedy characters, it's Seth, then Morton Schmidt. Like that. Once Seth was off the board, I was like, all right, if I want Jonah Hill, it's Schmidt or bust. And clearly it was bust. But those are the others that I had as honorables. Did you have any others, Curtis, as honorables?
Yeah, a couple. I'm actually surprised that some people weren't taken. But the more you think about this, and the more I thought about this, a lot of like the popular actors, I don't know if they like that. This was kind of where my brain went, and it was fun putting this list together because the people who sell the tickets, let's say, or like whose faces are on the posters, aren't always the funniest people. Like I'm a fan of like the Seth Rogen, right? But has he played like a really funny character worthy of a top 5? Like he's one of the most popular comedic presences right now in movies, and he wasn't even really mentioned other than like we sort of mentioned him in Superbad. I'm surprised he wasn't brought up. I thought maybe you'd go Pineapple Express.
Dale
Eric.
Denton. Yeah, I was in my long list he was there, but then in my short list, like for recording time, he was not there because, and that's kind of a good point though. Just quickly, that these comedy movies, like it's more about the ensemble than the individual that really like drive the bus, and that's a good thing. I would say that you go into these movies and there's these supporting characters and even leads that are just all around good. Like no one steals the show too much. Like they pass it around, like everyone's getting their touches, couple secondary assists. You love to see that.
You could have even went Saul on that, or even Red.
I had Red. Red was on my long list as well. Like I would put him above Saul and Dale for sure. That one scene when they go to his house is a scene that my brother and I could quote start to finish back in the day because we loved that movie and we just the classic scene.
Like the kimono scene, like when he's like motherfucking scholarship, like when he's like bouncing that ball.
Great memory, my God, that's unreal.
I love that scene
trying
too,
to get him
man.
a fucking scholarship.
He's bouncing this like massive.
I'm making a fucking cake. Yeah, no shit.
I like him in that. I like Saul because of how stupid he is in that. So he was like on my list of like the deep like like when they're like freaking out about getting caught and he's like listing off the ways that like the law enforcement can find them. He's like barracudas, heat-seeking missiles, like they're standing on a car like in the middle of the forest, like do you know what a barracuda is?
Yeah,
it's funny.
Nice.
I had let me see if I had anything else. I wanted to mention one of the iconic characters from like my like growing up, childhood watching comedy movies, would be Stifler from the American Pie series. And like when I was younger, Stifler was like a legend, right? Like those movies were like the Superbad of my childhood, right? Before Superbad came out. And like Sean William Scott, I think like he's actually like super funny. Like there's a couple movies that like I love Role Models, as you know as well, Eric, and like he's very funny in that, and you know, like as is Paul Rudd, to be honest, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
That's right.
You know,
Nice.
AKA Fogel, AKA McLovin.
First round pick.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. You kind of have to give him some love because I don't know, just like iconic character from you know, we'll say like the Superbad era where, you know, they've kind of passed the torch. But I think like American Pie definitely once again sort of laid the foundation. They walked so Superbad could run.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, had to at least give him an honorable mention.
We did get a few listener submissions for characters. Before that, though, I want to just give a recap of everyone's picks so we can just look at what the teams are shaping up as. And yeah, we'll post on social, see what the people think. But from the top, so we're going to go Matt with the first pick. So you had Seth from Superbad, John Beckwith from Wedding Crashers, Johnny English from Johnny English, Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber, Otto from A Fish Called Wanda. Overall thoughts on your roster?
A couple obscure picks there that people will be unfamiliar with. But like I super heavy hitters, and then like, you know, Otto and Johnny English, which is like more obscure. Yeah. So not super confident, not gonna lie. But I love my list overall myself. I think it's amazing. So I'm happy. I just don't think I get the popularity vote.
So then we'll go over to mine. So with the second pick, I had Alan from Hangover, Jeremy from Wedding Crashers, White Goodman, Dodgeball, Dale Doback, Step Brothers, and then Lieutenant Frank Drebin from Naked Gun.
Solid.
I'm very happy with my list, honestly. It shaped out pretty well. Like kind of what I had in mind, like going into this, I had an idea of who I wanted, and I was able to get almost all of them. So I'm happy with who I was able to draft on. I feel like second overall pick might have been the best pick to have because I could see the Snake back-to-back picks gave me a clear idea of like, all right, I'm either getting this person or not. And anyways, like that's just how I see it. There is I could also play to I knew who had back-to-back picks and what they had already picked, so I could see like, okay, I can take this person, hope to get my next one next round. So I liked second pick, to be honest. And then rounded out with Kurtis. So you had the third pick, took McLovin, Derek Huff. So McLovin from Superbad, Derek Huff from Step Brothers, Chaz from Wedding Crashers, Borat from Borat, and Brian Fantana from Anchorman. Thoughts on the squad?
Pretty happy with the squad in general. There was nothing I could do, so I did the best I could do given the circumstance. I did have Alan pretty high up on my list, so you know it's a bit of a shame that you know, like I come on the podcast once every few months. I get shafted into the third pick, like you know, like wow. You knew I wanted Alan. You took him right from under my very nose, so you know. So that would be honestly, like, I commend you for taking him so early. I kind of like if I plotted it out, I actually had him like around third. So obviously, like, there would have been no chance. But I think if you hadn't picked him, I probably would have went McLovin, Allen. Because Derek probably, I knew that Derek probably could have went a little later. Right. Yeah. So that's like my only, I guess, semi regret, even though it was, you know, fate determined that for me anyway. So I think pretty happy. Like I didn't really have to go outside of like where I wanted to too much. But yeah, I'd you know, I'd have a drink with that group of people.
Oh yeah, same. Things could get violent with White Goodman in the house, though. So I don't know if I'd want him around for said drink. And then with Alan, we'd all be cutting each other's hands and swearing into some sort of blood brothers pact. So I don't know about that. Jeremy Gray for sure, though.
Big time.
But yeah, so for me, actually, just quickly draft strategy. It all started with Matt. Curtis, to be honest, I didn't think you would go Alan. I was more worried about Matt taking Alan. And
Interesting.
I had no idea in which direction you were going, Matt, with the first overall pick. And I had Seth high too, so you made the decision for me. Once Seth was off the board, it was all right. I have to take Alan here. No, just not even thinking necessarily, Curtis, that you would take him, but it was someone I really wanted on my roster. Had you taken someone else, Matt, like John Beckwith, I'm just looking at your team first overall, then it would have been a hard decision for me to go Alan or Seth, to be honest. So
sweet.
Yeah.
No, I had a really long list, so like I had so many choices to go from. Like I had a lot of '90s characters. Like I don't know, it was a fun, but like there's so much to choose from.
Yeah.
But looking back, Eric, I like your list a lot. Actually, you have a really solid list. I even think of Alan like bringing up that movie. I love so. When he's like, I'm not supposed to be at your schools.
He's just such a unique character.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really like replace him, you know.
Yeah.
And they've tried often. I feel like anyways, Zach Galifianakis too. And just to be clear, I'm saying specifically in Hangover 1. I feel like they completely overdid his character in Hangover 2 and 3. They really they had a good thing and then they just took it to the next level in the worst way possible. But in Hangover 1, it was that perfect curated character and so iconic. You see him pop up every single Halloween. A few people dress up like him, and it's just always a hit. So I don't know, it was a lot of fun though. It was good, a fun format, and honestly, if we had done the once an actor is taken, you can't take him, it would have been the same result because they're not a single repeat on anyone's list. So whether by accident or by design, the universe tends to unfold as it should. And yeah, so now we'll get into the honorable mentions. There are quite a few. A few of them were characters that we've listed off. So the first one was from my girlfriend, Andy. So she said Jeremy from Wedding Crashers. So as I was coming up with this list, she submitted that. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought of Wedding Crashers. I was like, all right, I got to stash this one. So shout out Andy, helped me out making my list. Yeah. Second round pick. The next one was from Ron Antoine. So he said the Marx Brothers. Characters that I'm unfamiliar with, and I don't know in what movie they're in. So if anyone can, Matt, would you, the Marx Brothers?
We're going like 30s, 40s here.
Okay.
And there's like 4 of them. So yeah, they were in comedies in the 30s and 40s. So that's too old school. Like I didn't want anything old school in my list, so I stayed away from any black and white.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good pick. I mean, they're all famous at the time. It's like saying Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton. The Marx Brothers were super famous. So.
Gotcha. So the next submission was from the homie Justin Mocktinger. So he submitted a few. He had the aforementioned Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, and Mini-Me. Then the Minions from the Despicable Me movies, Shrek and Donkey, and Ricky Bobby. So
nice.
Lots of good ones there.
Yeah, I omitted any animated characters, but those are good picks.
Yeah, I like Austin Powers was something that I watched a lot, like when I was younger. But Eric, kind of same thing with me. Like within the last few years, like it was on TV or whatever, and I like tossed it on, like just for something to do in the background, and like I don't know, it didn't really seem to hold up as well. But like I don't know, you have to give credit where credit's due, and like Mike Myers definitely like pulled his weight and then some, like in those movies, you know, like playing multiple characters and like pretty iconic characters, like for their time. Yeah, so I like no shade there. Eric, actually, when you and I were discussing this idea, I think you mentioned Shrek, right?
Yeah.
And that was like definitely something that I didn't think of. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I definitely didn't really go towards any animated stuff. But definitely like not a bad pick for sure. And Ricky Bobby's like, it's classic.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong with him or Cal Naughton.
No, agreed.
That movie, so.
I also didn't consider animated, but if there were an animated character to pick, it would be Shrek or Donkey for that matter. Honestly, they're absolutely hilarious. Those are movies I need to throw back into rotation stat, and I feel like they've aged well in that. Like, it's just comedy for kids and for adults, and it's like a kids like animated movie. It's rated PG or PG-13 there. It's just great stuff. And Mike Myers, like, that's probably one of his best roles for me anyways, that stood the test of time. So no, love that. And yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Ricky Bobby, like when I watched that movie when I was a kid, and like it just killed me. A great pick. So the next one was from Killisin, also previous guest. She said, always loved Jim Carrey, especially in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
So that's one that I've only seen the first one, and I want to say always made me laugh. I'm not extremely familiar with the movie, to be honest. Like, I couldn't quote it really, but I always remember having a good laugh. I like Jim Carrey's physical comedy in that movie. Yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with the second one, like When Nature Calls, I believe it's called. But similar thing, like Jim Carrey's like, he's actually incredibly talented with like Matt kind of touched on it earlier, like with the Grinch, like the way he contorts his face and body, it's actually crazy. Like I remember very vividly the second Ace Ventura movie was one that my dad is a huge fan of, so we watched it a lot when I was younger at home. And this one scene, it like a lot of it takes place like in a jungle, and he gets like shot with like a tranquilizer dart, right? And he's like running through the jungle, and as he's running from these people, his body's like getting progressively more and more put to sleep or whatever from the tranquilizer. And the way he runs through the forest, using less and less of his body as he does it, it's so impressive. Like he's like looking right and left as he's running, and his arms are flailing like around his body as if they were completely limp. And like it's incredible. Like I remember looking back, like it's a really funny movie, but just like the things he does, it's amazing. And there's like some weird contortions parts of the movie where he like has to squeeze his body out of a mechanical rhino. I don't know if you've seen this movie.
Oh yeah.
But basically,
never seen it, but I've heard of that scene.
Just very quickly,
YouTube
for those who don't know, YouTube it. Like, it's basically a grown man stuck in a mechanical rhino that squeezes out of a pin-sized hole in its butt because he's just stuck in it, and onlookers think that the rhino's giving birth. And it's just like at the time it's one of the funniest things that I had ever seen. So really big respect for that character and for those movies.
So the next one was from the homie Bassam. He also submitted Fogel, aka McLovin. So we've touched on that character. We need to delve further. And then the next one is from our aunt, Tante Nicole. She said Will Ferrell as Buddy the Elf, which seasonally correct pick. I love that. I think that's my mom's favorite movie of Will Ferrell's as well. Family friendly. And he is funny in that movie. Like, just imagine you're a grown man who's lived your whole life on the North Pole, suddenly on a quest to be reunited with your father, and just like a completely different perspective than anyone else in like fast-paced Wall Street-esque New York City, right? Dealing with people on the naughty list, trying to get the Christmas spirit back up again. Like Elf is a very quotable movie still to this day, and it holds up. Like I love throwing Elf on every single Christmas season, and Will Ferrell kills it in that movie.
I agree, 100%.
The last submission was from my brother, so he submitted Lloyd Christmas as well, and David Clark, so Jason Sudeikis' character in We're the Millers, which I feel like that's a great pick. Before he texted me that, We're the Millers wasn't even on my radar, but that's a classic movie, a new age, I guess it's like late 2000s, but great movie, honestly. Went into that with no expectations, and I remember died laughing the first time I saw it, and it still holds up in my opinion. Catherine Hahn, I want to say, is in that too. And yeah, Jason Sudeikis like does a great job as the lead.
Is she?
I'm pretty sure she's Nick Offerman's wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She
I totally
is.
forgot about that.
But Will Poulter.
Will Poulter, yep.
Yeah.
He's great in that as well.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I definitely thought of that because I love Jason Sudeikis. I think he's incredibly funny, but I couldn't think of any movies that he was in that I would put up there, right? Like, I think you could put him in very similar situations, and he's kind of always going to be funny. He played opposite Owen Wilson in Hall Pass, which is kind of like he plays, a very similar character.
Yep.
His delivery is just amazing. I love the way he kind of riffs and the way he interacts with his co-stars as well. So massive. Like, I've watched Jason Sudeikis since he started on Saturday Night Live, and he's always been an incredible. Like, he's always just been. I've found him to be super funny all the time. So yeah, like. I see it for sure. It was a good movie, and I think he definitely like carried the comedy torch in that movie. Although the other members of the cast were good too. I think he definitely like pulled a lot of the weight in that movie.
Yeah, he drives the RV, right? Like he's steering the ship to the promised land. Yeah. But no, it is another one of those movies where like you forgot Catherine Hahn was in it. Like it's just a great ensemble. Like you got No Regrets in there. Like those minor characters that also just shine with limited opportunity and make the most of it, right? So that's what you gotta love about these comedy movies. And kind of like last time we did our episode about comedy movies, that was like I want to say 3 years ago, 2019. There's a scarcity of truly great 2020s comedy movies, and that's just a damn sad statement to make. So I do hope we can get back to the glory days of the 2000s. And like do you guys have any comedy recommendations that you've seen recently that were like truly hilarious?
Nope, not anything that's come out recently. I think we need a new wave of actors. Like to bring something different. I don't know what that is, because like the formula seems to remain sort of similar, but maybe we just need those fresh faces. Like, all the actors that we named, we love them, right? We love their like breakout roles or their like peak roles, but a lot of those roles that we've mentioned even today, like what's the newest movie of all of the 15 things that we mentioned? Like, what's the newest movie on that list? Like, is there even anything from the last 10 years?
Well, probably a lot of these actors have transitioned to more like dramatic and serious roles.
Right.
And I was gonna say, like, the formula, while you said like the formula remains the same, I think that, and this might not be what you were saying there, but just as far as formulas are concerned, I think we need a new pool of actors that come from the breeding ground, the development league, the AHL, that is Saturday Night Live, or something along those lines. Like, that was the trajectory for, like, a lot of these actors that we listed tonight are people who came up through the ranks as writers and then actors on Saturday Night Live. And, like, is that still the case? Like, is Saturday Night Live still pumping out grade A comedy actors nowadays? I don't know. Like,
it hasn't in a while, but then you look at like what is funny that's coming out right now, and like I can think of TV shows like
Yeah.
Andy Samberg is a prime example, and like when Brooklyn Nine-Nine first started, I didn't have very high hopes for that. Like
Oh, same.
there's just like I thought like the work he did on SNL and like his digital shorts and stuff with like the Lonely Island guys, I thought like that stuff was hilarious, right? But then transitioning that to like a TV show, like a sitcom-esque TV show, I would have had mediocre expectations at best. But I think that is like a hilarious TV show. Like I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that's recent, right? It started a little bit ago, but it's continuing to pump out seasons, and just so I don't know, maybe comedy is shifting. Maybe it's like harder to make a good, funny comedy movie that only lasts an hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe you need like that TV show formula, where you can build kind of that relationship with the characters and investment in certain things, and you get to know the people a lot more. Like, we look at things like The Office, and we've talked about rewatching that show and kind of like, for me, like falling in love with a different character every time you rewatch it kind of thing, right? And I don't know, maybe it's a little more difficult to do that sort of thing in a movie, but yeah, I think we need new actors. We need something fresh. And hopefully we get that soon.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
And I do think that, well, just to be optimistic here, I do think in the next few years we'll be getting some fresh faces and some good content. And I love me a good TV show comedy there, but there is something about going to a packed house and at Silver City and just laughing next to your comrades next to you in the theater, like strangers just reveling in just good comedy. It's underrated, to be honest, to be in a jam-packed theater and just laughing with a bunch of people. We're all there to just have a good time and munch on some popcorn and laugh.
You feed off it too,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Even just watching a comedy movie with someone else, like in the room, like watching with you versus watching it by yourself, like you just 100%. Tend to laugh out loud more when there's someone else to like share that moment with, and then maybe they laugh, and then that just kind of amps it up. Like that's one of my fondest memories of watching like Step Brothers. It's like I remember we saw it maybe it was like even the first night it came out. It was like a Friday night after school, and the theater was packed and everyone was laughing. I'm sure for like 90% of the movie, people were just laughing the whole time, and you just feed off that, and it was like, that was like the funniest movie I've ever seen because of that impact that it had. So yeah, let's get back there. I don't know who needs to do it, but we need someone to step in, make that next great movie, and get me back into a theater.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I think that'd be a good place to wrap it up there for our draft episode and just good comedy discussion as well. Kurtis, as per usual, killed it. Do you have any final notes for the listeners?
No final notes. Just once again, thanks for having me. Love talking to you guys about this stuff, and looking forward to when I make my 6th appearance.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Same here. All right. Great stuff. Thanks, man.
Good.
You're a great Kurtis.